What's going on, boys? NealGuides here. Welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to go over the tactics and instructions to easily get elite. As you can see, I got elite with this cheap 30k team. If you want to see that video and the highlights and how I did it, the link will be in the description below. But not only the team is important, the tactics and instructions was important. I have 4 tactics. I have the 4-2-3-1 defensive, a 4-2-3-1 attacking formation, a 4-4-2 which is an even more attacking formation, and the 5-2-1-2 which is kind of like an all-out attack formation. The key thing is with winning is to have control with just your fingers. You know, move left on the D-pad, you can become more defensive and close the game out. If you're losing, you just change to attacking formation, you can win the ball back. The key is to be able to adapt and be very versatile on the fly. So this is the team, as I said, I got it with. The only reason I'm using this formation, as you can see right now, is just for chemistry purposes. So for example, I wanted Sissoko on 10 chemistry, I wanted Ben Yedder and Dembele on 10 chemistry because they were my strikers. But in game I would change to one of the 4 formations. Now the formation you're seeing right now is balanced. As I said, don't forget I don't use this formation. This is the formation when your opponent's kicking off. If you want to defend against kickoff, that's why everything's on 1. So I don't actually use this formation in game. This is just, you know, when your opponent kicks off in the first minute, you don't have the ball, your team is naturally playing balanced anyway. It takes some time to transition from your D-pad tactic balance to another one. So this is just to prevent kickoff. So as you can see, everyone's on comeback and defense. So I don't actually use this in game. This is only for like the first couple of minutes, just so I don't get kickoffed. Then I changed to 4. There's 4 different formations. So I have a defensive formation. This is a formation I would use to close the game out. I'd have an attacking formation, which I use 60% of the time, which is a formation I would say for kind of just you generally attacking formation. I play attacking football to try to get the goal back. And then I had another formation which was another variation of the attacking formation but with 2 strikers as opposed to with 1 striker in a 4-2-3-1 to make it even more attacking. And then I had an alternate 5-2-1-2 formation. So you can argue, and generally when you're making a setup you want to have a progressive system, so you want to go from defensive to attacking and gradually to more and more attacking. We've got to start with the defensive one. So this is the formation to close out the game. Now I only use this in 80 minutes, so I went with the tactics of being balanced, 3 depth, balanced as well, because when you're, the big mistake I see is if you use possession when you're winning, unless you're really good at holding the ball. If you have a cheap team like I have, your opponent can press you very easily, so it's not really good using possession if you want to kind of not waste time, but let's just say time manage really well, especially in the last 10 minutes. So balance is the way to go. Width, we've got a width on 4. When we're building up the play, we don't want my players to be too far away because that way we can, you know, get pressed very easily. So we want the players to be very close and knit together. The players in the box, we have this on 1 for obvious reasons. We don't need to score anymore, and generally speaking, some players for some reason they go all out. They still park the bus when they're like, you know, they're losing. So the key thing is I can pin the ball around my opponent. So as you can see in this clip, I'm passing the ball around my opponent because I'm winning and he's parking the bus, so it's his fault. And then corners and free kicks on 1. So in this formation, basically everyone's basically on comeback on offense. This is the only time I'll ever use this formation is that, let's say for example, I'm winning in the 80th minute, and people always get this wrong. They always think that in the last 10 minutes your team, they suddenly feel weakened. It's not that. Most of the time your opponent goes even more attacking, so it's always wise to have the defensive formation. So let's say for example in the final couple of minutes you find that your opponent's got his fullbacks on enjoying the attack, you need your players to kind of, you need your Cam and your Lamb to come back and defend. So this is a defensive formation to counteract my opponent's attacking formation. I only use this for like 10% of the time. Then I changed to a 4-2-3-1. Now this is the main formation that I used. This is very similar to my original 4-2-3-1 with some minor changes. We have the width increased by 1. We just wanted to be a bit more attacking. It plays like a 4-4-1-1. We got long ball as well. Long ball is really important because remember how I told you with the 4-2-3-1, these cams, they don't have instructions to get in behind because they don't have. I'm just going to show you now actually under instructions. So as you can see, the cams, there's no getting behind option. So what long ball does is long ball sends these players to run forward. So it asks these cams to run forward, and because players like Martial, Lucas Moura and Dembele, they haven't really got the best of attack positioning. So long ball kind of makes them, allows us to make runs going forward. So I don't have to always trigger them manually myself. So that's why I've gone with long ball. So it's not to make long balls in behind, it's just that the players make runs going forward. Width and players in the box on balance, kind of what I was just testing some stuff out and I actually liked it unbalanced. I didn't want them to be too far. I just kind of left it as is. And then instructions, I had my striker and my cam on stay forward. So in some respect it ends up becoming like a 4-4-1-1 because my striker and then my cam, or in this case a centre forwards on stay forward. So I'm always going to have 2 players forward because I don't really want to, I'm not the kind of person that parks the bus when I play FIFA. I like to play attacking football at all times. So both my cam, my strikers on stay forward. My lamb, my ram, I don't even have them on comeback on offense. I have them on balanced, even though Martial and Lucas Moore haven't got the best work rates, because I like to play attacking most of the time. I have these players both on balanced. Both my CDMs on cut, passing lane, stay back while attacking, cover center, because I already have 4 strikers already. So you've got stay back while attacking for both of them. And these are kind of the outlet players to pass to. My left back and right back on stay back while attacking. If I want to push them forward manually, I do that with my D-pad tactics, attacking fullbacks. But yeah, this is my attacking formation. I would use this for 60% of the game. The reason why I put conservative interceptions on Dembele is because I didn't want him to be out of position, but also I kind of wanted him to conserve stamina. So that's why I went with conservative interceptions. So this is my attacking formation. So generally speaking, have an attacking formation and defensive formation at the very minimum. So maybe have your default formation and a more defensive one. Then we go on to the 4-4-2. Now, sometimes the issue is when you have one striker up front, sometimes it's really difficult to score against your opponent, because sometimes he's parking a bus, he's on overload the ball side, and he's running around with his striker and he's man marking your sole striker. The only issue with having one striker is it's very easy to mark. The way to fix this is by having 2 strikers. That way your opponent has to mark 2 players. So I have 2 players in being Ben Yedder and Dembele. But the key thing is Dembele is on false 9. Now if you've seen my video on the 4-4-2 tactics and instructions, it's basically the same thing. So you've got to come back on the fence, left mid, right mid, CDMs on stay back while attacking, and the fullback stay back while attacking. And we got one of my strikers on stay forward, one of them a false 9, come back on the fence. It kind of acts like a centre forward. And then also when my opponent's parking a bus, he kind of comes into a deep position, collects the ball, and then I can play off Ben Yedder. So this is kind of the way I used to beat part the bus. So if I couldn't get past with a 4-2-3-1, I'd resort to 2 strikers. And then obviously it's a 4 striker formation. I got my 2 centre mids, well CDMs, but they kind of convert to centre mids when you're attacking. So that's kind of the way I went with it. I use this formation, I would say 10% of the time. If I struggle to beat my opponent, and let's say for example I found that he was running around man marking my single striker, I'd then change to a 2 striker formation. But because this guy's on false 9, it's kind of like a 4-2-3-1, except for you can play a bit more narrow together with the 2 strikers. So the key thing is use the 2 strikers together collectively, and also the fact they've got a 5-star weak foot, so they're both dangerous on either foot, which is very, very useful. Then what happened was, in the rare occasion, which is maybe like 3 or 4 games, if I couldn't break my opponent down, I'd overload and he's overloading the ball side, I would change to my 5-2-1-2. Now with a 5-2-1-2, you've probably seen this video as well, the exact same tactics and instructions, just a few minor changes that I made. This was basically my all-out attack instruction. Remember, with a 5-2-1-2, when you have your fullbacks join the attack, it ends up becoming like a 5-striker formation. So it becomes like it's like a 4-1-2-1-2. As you can see, it's like a 4-1-2-1-2 over here, with the left centre mid, right centre mid, cam, and 2 strikers. Then you have the left back and right back turning into wingers and providing more support. So let's say for example my opponent was parking a bus. As you guys know, overload the ball side. The best way to beat it is by using these wide wingers, because remember how I told you the left back and right back, when they move forward, they kind of move forward in their own lane. So they're basically unmarked when your opponent's using overload the ball side. So this is the formation I would change to. Let's say I really couldn't get past my opponent, I was really struggling, then I would use this formation. But as I said, it mainly consisted of just the 2 formations. I would say I used this formation 10% of the time my opponent's overloading the ball side. I would use this formation 10% of the time. Let's say for example I was losing, let's say it was 70 minutes, I couldn't get past with because generally speaking when your opponent is winning about 70 minutes, they normally go to a defensive formation. They normally change all their players and come back on the fence. So this is just a formation with 2 strikers. So if I really couldn't get past, I was losing 2-0, I really need to get a goal, I would change to this. The 4-2-3-1 was very attacking as it is. By the way, this is probably one of the best tactics I've ever used. As I said, it's very similar to the video you already saw on a 4-2-3-1. If you haven't seen the full 4-2-3-1 video, be sure to check down the link in the description below as well, and where I go into that in depth. But obviously the main thing is being the cam and the strikers on stay forward. So yes, defensively you're only defending with 4 players coming back, so you're not necessarily defending that well, but you always have the 2 strikers on forward, and basically you can distribute the ball to your cam, then your striker make a run it behind. So it's really, really good in that way. And as I said, 60% of the time I'd use this formation. And then the remaining 20%, let's say 80 minutes, generally speaking, most players when they're losing, they go to an attacking formation. And generally speaking, if I didn't want to, let's say I was winning 2-1, especially against a team of the year team, I can't really do much with a team like that. with a team like this, should I say, against a team of the year team, and going to extra time is something I didn't want to go into because obvious reasons. Stamina is obviously a big issue with this team, so that was a formation I would use to close the game out, and that was my tactics and instructions. As I said, I use those 4 tactics and instructions. As I said, try it out. Generally speaking, as a rule of thumb, if you want to try your own tactics out, just try to have a formation, try to have your normal formation. So let's say you play, I don't know, let's say you play a 4-5-1, have a 4-5-1, maybe your strike on stay forward, have another formation like a 4-5-1 with every single player on comeback and defense, par your striker, because there's no point. So have like a main formation, a defensive variation, then have another option. In this case, the 4-2-3-1 was quite a narrow formation. A 4-4-2 also allowed me to take use of the left mid and right mid. So if my opponent was overloading the ball side as well, I could always use my left mid and right mid to make runs in behind down the wing. So because I didn't want to be contracted or kind of stuck using narrow players, I had a wider formation. So attacking formation, defense variation of that attacking formation, a wider formation or a different type of formation, and an alternate formation which can be like a 3-5-2, an all-out attack formation, or in my case a 5-2-1-2. But anyways, that's my tactic and instruction. As I said, link will be in the description if you want to see how I got elite with this 30k team, with a very good weekend league in the end, and I kind of go through the good points and the weak points of the team and the highlights from Foot Champs. Thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, boys. If you do have any other questions, of course, let me know in the comment section down below. Of course, I stream on twitch.tv/NealGuides. You can see the weekend league there. Thank you very much for watching, boys. Take it easy, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace out.